I honestly did not expect to see this in the show.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Finally, a Captain America that I can appreciate. What's this do?
So, who would like to start? Mr. Barnes, why does Sam aggravate you?
15 seconds to drop! So what's our plan? Great.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel and time for another episode of Luke's TV Reviews. On today's video, Marvel are continuing their domination of both film and now television with their newest adventure, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And before we get underway, this review is going to contain spoilers for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so if you haven't yet seen the show, away with you! Unless you like spoilers or you don't really care about it, in which case, stick around, have fun. At the end of Avengers Endgame, Steve Clint Eastwood Rogers passed his shield and the mantle of Captain America onto Anthony Mackie Sam Wilson, but as the show opens, Sam does not see himself as worthy to take on the title. However, when he's joined by Bucky, who's looking to completely reform himself from his wrongdoings as the Winter Soldier, and there's the emergence of a violent group of freedom fighters, the two heroes team up to save the day. Now, this show was scheduled to be released before WandaVision, and then obviously all the delays happened, but I can kind of see why. WandaVision was great at introducing Marvel's new television age, and it dominated every single week a new episode came out. But in terms of, content, it was a huge show, and it basically signified a new dawn within the MCU. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is by no means of the same stakes as WandaVision, and I think, to its somewhat detriment, WandaVision was still fresh in everyone's minds. Instead of being episodic in nature, Falcon and the Winter Soldier acts more like a mini event, but just released as episodes. And starting this review off with some of my negative thoughts is that it didn't really lend itself to that episodic structure. When watching WandaVision, there was this continual hook to tune in every Friday, to steer clear of social media for spoilers, to plug myself in as soon as possible, and I didn't really find that when watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I mean, I'm glad to see that no one was hypothesizing on social media about this theory and that theory. I mean, you guys went so hard, you were creating theory videos about a f***ing fly. But for me, the story of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier felt really dragged out to try and fit into this 6-episode mold. At the end of the day, I think Marvel could have reached the same endpoints, presented the same message, and executed the overall show in a more compelling manner if it was instead kind of like a standalone, solo, one-off event that's about 2 and a bit hours long that you can still release on Disney+. Now, I'm not saying that the quieter moments where we spend some downtime with these characters was entirely uninteresting, but they always went on for way too long. Take episode 5 for instance. Bucky and Sam returns to Sam's family to help patch up the boat, and the intention of this scene is to depict our heroes having their own human troubles too and ground them in reality. But the episode dedicates most of its time to them painting a boat. Again, you can cut and condense and still get across the same intention, but you can also lose so much filler in the process. One aspect that could have been completely omitted for my liking: the Flag Smashers. A group of so-called activists who look to disrupt the world order because they preferred the world before everyone returned from the blip. The Flag Smashers are the most ragtag, formulaic, cookie-cutter antagonists whose motives you do not have any interest in, led by Carly, who I found thunderously boring. And yet again, the show spends so much time focusing on them, but never piques my interest in the slightest. These, for me, go down as one of the weakest villains in the MCU. One character that did quite intrigue me though was John Walker, played by Wyatt Russell. At the end of the first episode, we see that the government have intervened and named their own successor to Captain America, and it was Carl Fredricksen from Up. From his introduction, there was instantly something off with Walker. His overall demeanour was not Captain America-esque. And as the episodes went on, that suspicion that he was eventually going to snap only began to grow. One little side note that I noticed was that he always introduced himself as Captain America, whereas you look at Steve always introduced himself as Steve.
I am Captain America.
I am Steve Rogers.
Ultimately, his anger that no one was willing to accept him as Cap boiled over, leading him to take the super soldier serum, completely snap, and pummel a flag smasher to death in front of the public. On the whole, Russell, I think, did a great job. He put across the frustration of his character brilliantly, and I think with some tweaks to the overall story, he would have made for a far more compelling villain, rather than just kind of like this secondary antagonist who is a dickhead for a while and then just shuts up at the end. But as the title suggests, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier are our leads for this show, and it's really nice to see them have the spotlight, where in past films they've kind of been secondary to Steve the entire time. And continuing from those previous films, the bickering and overall dichotomy between Sam Wilson and Bucky, the spark is still there, and it's a lot of fun to watch. Anthony Mackie is simply charisma in a bottle, and I was a really big fan of Sam's overall arc in this show. The early episodes started off a little rusty, depicting Sam and his sister struggling to find a loan, Sam fearful of becoming Captain America, but also fed up of playing second fiddle the entire time. Ultimately, his arc morphs into something far more significant, and it's a factor that I'm very pleased to see that Marvel has touched on. And that's with the introduction of Isaiah Bradley, who in the comics, and as well in the context of this show, was one of the first people experimented with the super soldier serum, but was ultimately imprisoned and experimented on because America refused to have the face of America belong to a black man. And in amongst this, important and meaningful conversations are had that speak to a wider problem that we are seeing continuously. So hopefully you don't need me to outline the importance of Sam finally becoming Captain America. Obviously it's in the comics, but it also is just such a great moment to watch. And Mackie is amazing. His new suit is awesome. I kind of like the fact that so far in Phase 4, all of our heroes are getting costume upgrades. And they look pretty dope. But the final speech he gives, where he basically announces that he is Captain America to the world, again, you feel how powerful that moment is and what it means in a bigger picture. As for Sebastian Stan, I like the fact that they're still exploring the trauma from his time as the Winter Soldier. He's searching for redemption for his past mistakes. One such example is him befriending a man whose son he killed, and by the end, he realizes that he has to tell him the truth. And whilst it's emotional, I do wish that, seeing as Sam had that great payoff with Isaiah Bradley and showing him his statue being added to the museum, I wish we could have just simply sat down with Bucky and his friend for longer as he pours his heart out. It was, however, great to see the amazing Daniel Brühl back as Baron Zemo, and this is a definitive depiction of Baron Zemo this time round. We get to see his maniacal scheming, criminal world knowledge, and he knows how to get down on the dance floor too. Brühl really excels in this role, and I hope that it isn't the last that we've seen of him. The action, as to be expected, is fun as hell. The series basically opens with an exhilarating aerial chase, with Sam going up against Batroc the Leaper. The big fight between Bucky, Sam, and Walker was brutal and really well choreographed, and seeing Sam don the cap suit and kick ass on land and in the air is exactly what you'd hope to see in our new Captain America. But where does it go from here? Bucky and Sam seem very content with their new pairing, and I'm sure that we'll see them down the road eventually. In fact, I was just about to stop recording. How about this for convenient timing? News has just broke that Anthony Mackie is going to return in a solo Captain America film, which is fantastic news. Walker is now US agent, which I thought was a very clever touch. So be prepared for Wyatt Russell to come back alongside whatever Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character is planning. And we still aren't sure what the hell is going on with Sharon Carter, who is revealed to be the power broker. She definitely has some dodgy plans in store in that underground city of Madripoor, a place that I thought was a really nice addition, so I also hope that that isn't the last we see of it. On the whole, coming off of the excitement of WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier was a very different vibe. As usual, character was at the heart of the story, and Sam and Bucky come out of this better than ever. It introduces some interesting characters, features plenty of exciting action, and a number of powerful messages, but it didn't work as a weekly release in my opinion. The urgency to watch an episode was never really there, and I stand by the fact that this would have been significantly better if condensed into a standalone one-off event. Overall, I'm going to give The Falcon and the Winter Soldier a 7 out of 10. Anyway guys, those were my thoughts on The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let me know, have you had a chance to see the show yet? What did you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And my question to you, I want to know which supporting MCU character who hasn't yet, in your opinion, had their chance to shine, would you like to see have their own standalone show? Me personally, after them also popping up in this show, I think it would be really cool to have like a short series following the adventures of the Dora Milaje. You can have Okoye back in it. I think it would be pretty dope. But as always, thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to click that like button, and if you aren't already, click that subscribe button too.